Hi, Claire.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Florian.
It took some time to talk to you.
We got there in the end.
Yes, finally. And you know, actually, I miss a bit I would have loved, would have been in Zurich like 2 weeks ago or so. And I would have loved to visit you in your studio. I always like to go and visit you and talk with you about your artworks, where you are at the moment.
I was looking forward to meeting you.
Yes.
We had an appointment.
We had an appointment and now we see how it goes. Well, let's see how this all will work out in the end. I told you a bit that I'm starting Florian Christopher and experimenting with this, and it's just a bit like being curious where to go. And I would like to ask you first, like, you just started something like Studio K3. How's your situation at the moment with the lockdown? You started K3, but maybe you can tell me something about it.
I mean, the lockdown here in Switzerland, in Zurich, is actually quite organized, and we're not totally locked down. Okay, the shops are locked down, the galleries, the museums, any huge venue, but we can actually go out and go to the shops. You have some freedom of movement, and I can actually go to my studio. I'm quite lucky. I can go from home to studio, and the studio works. We're 5 people. We have our own rooms. It functions. We can keep our distance. And so it's kind of life as normal in that sense of normal. But that realization that everything around us is not normal, and it's quite frightening. And yeah, what the future is for the galleries, I mean, in our world, the art world, but also on a human and economic scale, you know, things will never be the same again. It's fact. So on a day-to-day, I could say my day-to-day is exactly the same as it was 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
But of course, out there, it's not.
So you're in a kind of time bubble.
Yeah, and of course, yeah, what you mentioned about igniting Studio K3, and it was ignited from a platform that we had for 12 years, a platform that it was kind of hovering as a different kind of platform. It wasn't an actual platform, it was an off-site platform. And the situation with the COVID-19 ignited a project to basically help artists, myself and friends and artists in Europe and abroad, to retain some visibility. And that was our key, to keep visibility from the studios as the lockdown from our outlets, which are the museums and the galleries, you know, where we're going to put our work. I mean, I can only say from my own point of view that what projects were cancelled, and yeah, they've been shifted, they've been moved along, postponed, they haven't been totally cancelled, they've been postponed. But that could also change, because we really don't know. It's week by week. So by igniting the Studio K3 platform, it gives this visibility online at the moment to artists to get their work out to their studios. Because I think, like me and many other artists, they're sitting on work now. I mean, I make every day, I continue my practice, and other artists are kind of looking at work that should be now installed somewhere or in transit somewhere. And how do you get that out? Of course, we have lots of outlets, social media, but actually to kind of get it out to a new audience. And that's why we started it. And we started it almost 4 weeks ago. You know, we were quite quick to react on the isolation situation.
That was very quick. I mean, I'm just starting this now and I'm a bit late, I feel like. I'm like an old man regarding this. Present. Yes. But what kind of audience do you have in mind? Studio K3?
I think we do in groups, Exhibition 0, Exhibition 1, and we're just about literally today or tomorrow and launch Exhibition 2. And when we had to kind of really rally around quite quickly and make phone calls to artists, of course, artists that I had their phone numbers, I had their emails, I could actually say, look, are you interested? And of course, it was kind of more of a local scene. It was the Zurich art scene. And Sandy and I, who are now running Studio K3, we have a network anyway from doing K3 project space. So, and we have a reputation, people trust us. And so we kind of managed to get 9 artists quite quickly onto the platform. And then from there, we built the next artist group. And now the third group, we've opened it up to an artist in America, London, and a Swiss artist that's now based in Cairo. temporarily. So we're looking for a bigger audience. It's not
Mm.
about supporting the Zurich art scene. It's, of course, we're based in Zurich. We've got Zurich artists, but it's also bringing new people in, which of course opens up the audience. And I think
Mm.
it's a win-win situation for the Zurich, the Swiss artists, and the artists working abroad, because they see them and vice versa. And if an artist from London is looking at the site and discovers a Swiss artist, I mean, it's brilliant. It's brilliant
It
both
is.
ways.
And
And
I also read that you're putting a focus on works which are in the studio and are normally not included in gallery shows or institutional shows, are like the smaller pieces on work which are also easily to be sent away.
yes, so the idea is that the artist has to be responsible for getting the work to the person that buys the artwork. So basically it has to practically go into an envelope and be posted at this moment. So we always tell the artist to think practical on scale and weight and what can move in the post and not get damaged. That's one criteria. The criteria, I mean, it's totally up to the artist what they choose to put on the platform. And it could be a work that's already been shown in the gallery, was ready to be shown in the gallery, so a final piece of work. Or it could be a sketch or works on paper, which often artists don't release to the gallery, or the gallery or museum might not be interested to show. All these little things that buzz around an artist studio. I think this kind of beauty of what lies behind the scenes a lot of the time from the polished work. And I think, so there's very varied works that the artists put out, and what we try to tell them also to put it out at a market price, because we're not an auction platform, we're not a fundraiser for the artist. It's really, because hopefully, and time will tell how we go back to being normal, but artists should retain their reputation and they all have their different market prices, and we're not trying to undercut the gallery at all. That, for example, for me, my painting is the same price you'd find at my representative gallery. So I'm not undercutting them. It's not that someone can go to our platform and go, oh, it's cheaper there than the gallery. No, it's across the board. And some artists do at the moment, I think there's a return to watercolors, which seems quite popular for everyone. Makes it something that you can do at home on your kitchen table. You can carry your little paint tray and water and pad, and that's actually quite beautiful. To actually, the artists are returning to this very simple art form, and it's beautiful. And maybe it's also going to be limited that artists have the time to do this. And so there's some beautiful works on the platform and coming up in exhibition too that are just simple watercolors, and they have a different maybe market value. So some works are quite cheap and some are on a higher end. But we think that Studio K3 can also live longer than this lockdown and artists in isolation, that the platform will develop to an offline project. And also, yeah, people maybe return and see some works that they wouldn't see on the gallery sites. So we're also thinking long term. You know, we're also thinking ahead of ourselves, that the lockdown in Switzerland, a lot's going to change next Monday, because some of the DIY shops, which of course artists love, are going to open. The galleries are already, I think, opening the first week of June, which will mean the museums will start opening. So things are going to start, I mean, moving a little bit and shifting away from what artists are putting out as well. So we have to kind of, yeah, think ahead a bit.
But so I also understand for you, it's definitely an addition to what is there out already. I mean, it's like you're not like I mean, it's really, you put also very strong emphasis for me that it's not like a competition to galleries, for example. No. It's really like an addition, and it's something where you thought there is like still like a gap maybe, which can be, there's a place.
Yeah, I think our site someone could find an artist on our platform, see a certain type of work depending on what the artist has given us, and we put the artist can decide what link they have on the site. So it could be a representative gallery, it could be an Instagram, it could be Facebook, or it could be their own website. And from there, I think the audience, whoever it is going to then go to these sites and discover other works, because we're offering something, or maybe to kind of introduce a work to someone who doesn't know that artist, or an audience where they're quite familiar and they're seeing something different. They would like to own this little work, but then maybe in a few months they'll see the artist's work somewhere else in a gallery, something larger, maybe invest in more. I mean, I think what we've seen on the trend of what's selling is kind of work in a price range. Some larger works have sold and some more substantially with a price tag have sold. But of course, I think also what you were saying in our introduction, it's like, you know, how much are people prepared to give out financially when they've only seen something online? And it's very tricky. And audience, I think, yeah, they want to be seen. They want to be seen at the gallery investing. I mean, if you suddenly go over 1,000 francs, for example, you want to enjoy that publicly somehow, or maybe with or actually see the work in real, because I think to actually spend a lot of money when you've only seen it as a screenshot. Yeah. So the kind of lower range works are selling quite well. A few works have sold over 1,000 francs. Yeah.
But you still think, I mean, I'm thinking even more and more about this, like the digital or the online world against the analog world and the experience. Yeah. And it's interesting that you say like that there's maybe like a focus on like a very low price segment, but there's still the wish to see the work in real life and to experience this in real life. And there's still like, I mean, I start reading that people buy now stuff on Instagram, not stuff, art on Instagram. They buy, they go and buy online, and on these online platforms, of course, they say online is the new thing. But I'm doubting this myself, but maybe I'm very subjective regarding this. But it sounds like you have this, with the short term you have now, you may go also in the same direction with your experience.
Yeah, I mean, we hope, like everyone, that things will change. Things will never be normal again, but the galleries and the museums and the gathering and the spectacular and the art fair, you know, people like to be seen in a social situation. They like to feel special. They like to be invited to a dinner or an aperitif, and then you see the work, and it's part of our business, that social side, and seeing the original is really important. And now we're adjusting to actually seeing something on a screen. And it's very different. And I think that audience, again, that if they already know the artist, they know the quality, they know what they're getting, they trust that artist, they trust their CV, they trust also where they've exhibited. There's something to fall back on. Of course, it's different if you don't know the artist and the artist lives hundreds of kilometers away, and you know, on ours you have to click straight away. We have a system where you pay directly so it's not first come first serve, or you have to inquire. It's literally a click, like an e-site to buy a PayPal. You click, it's yours. That money goes directly. So they're already releasing the money before it's arrived in the post. So it is a huge trust. And we have to trust our artists that we invite. So of course it's our network that we can trust that artist is going to put that work in the post because the money's already come in. And so when you're dealing with a matter of a few hundred francs, it's very different if it's 1,000, 2,000, 10,000. And so in a way, the artists we've invited to kind of get that, and they're releasing most of them releasing small paperworks. And it seems that it's kind of quite clear, and people are kind of investing in that. I mean, as we become hopefully offline, then we can actually show some of the original works. And the idea is that we invite people around to artist studios, or we look for spaces or in between contacts to galleries or museums or empty spaces, the nature of the K3 project space. And also bring people to the artist studios and see some work. And then they maybe see something that wasn't on our platform, and that hopefully will be a link to a greater art practice of the artists. Yeah.
And you talk about the change, and everybody's talking about the system is changing. I also ask myself how it's changing from the current art world or art industry. If you would go I don't know if it works in this question, but if you would go now like in 5 years time or in 10 years time even, where would you like the system to change, in which direction? If you could decide, if you could make like a way to say, I wish it would go in that direction, what would it be? What would the art world in 2030 look like if you could have a say?
I personally don't have a problem with how the art world was before. I mean, if you think before January, I think it was fine. Of course, there was always, you know, as an artist, you always kind of criticize it, but I think it was okay. I mean, actually, artists in isolation, it was a topic before this current situation, because in Zurich, as you probably were aware, a lot of galleries have closed, a lot of good galleries. There was already a shift that a lot of good artists were not represented anymore. We had good times in Zurich. There were a lot of galleries, a lot of people collecting art, a lot of support for artists. And then things changed already last year in a way that suddenly really good platforms had gone, and artists who were represented on a, you know, a very professional level were suddenly not represented. So that was already changing, and that idea of kind of artist-led. I mean, Studio K3 is an artist-led platform. I, as one of the co-founders of it, is doing it from the inside, you know, as an artist, and putting it out there from an artist's point of view. And that's how we've always done it. And what's going to happen, I think we're not going to see back to normal for at least 3 years, I would say. And I think, yeah, maybe it's a little kick up the ass to the galleries a little bit, what they have to do, and they also have to change their model. I don't believe, I mean, if Art Basel happens in September, Berlin Weekend, Freeze, all the ones that are going to happen now, okay, Freeze happens in the fall anyway. Who's going to be there? What point are we going to feel like, oh, we can go on a plane? And how much is that flight going to cost? Of course, because we're so used to hopping on a cheap airline or to Venice. We're going to have to think about that. And do we want to be on a plane at the moment? And do we want to be somewhere away from our comfort zone in terms of getting ill? You know, it's all this, like, I think we're all a bit nervous. So I think, yeah, things can open up again, but at what point will we? And who's going to have the financial kind of reserves to think, oh, I'll just pop and buy something? I think that question of spending, you know, I think people are already eating into, not everyone, but some people are eating into their savings. They're looking at their reserves. How much are they going to earn in the next year? You know, is there some spare change for art? I think it's questionable. So all these things determine exactly what's going to happen. And what I think out of this year, what galleries will reopen, that's hard to say, and I don't like to speculate. It's hard to say, but I think it's going to be like this for, I would say, 2 to 3 years.
And after that, you can imagine that I mean, I myself think that still there will be galleries. But I also ask myself personally if there's maybe more return to a way that collectors or patrons, art connoisseurs, that they go more back to the studio, maybe try to go there directly. And especially what you say in Zurich, I mean, we know each other from Zurich. I have been in Zurich when it was like, it seemed like a golden age.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe it was the Gilded Age, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was like a lot of very good galleries working, a lot of artists. It was a very busy scene, and it was fun being there.
Yeah.
And now there's still some galleries, but it also feels a bit like, yeah, it felt like a lot of, I can just repeat, a lot of places died away. And artists still, what you also mentioned, I think is very good what you say, that artists, they are still working, they are still creating, and they also want to be seen. And the question also is then, would it be online? But at the same time, we say, no, it's not online. So yeah, it's a bit question mark where it goes.
Yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword. It really is. And I think it's a double-edged sword that, you know, as an artist, you need a collector, you need a gallery, you need an outlet, you need people that invest in you. You know, we make, someone buys, we can survive. We pay the studio, we have the visibility. But of course, what's going to happen now, if whatever happens with the galleries, I don't think there's going to be this huge closure of galleries. But I think maybe they have to kind of question where they are and what their future is and their programming and what kind of exhibitions they put out. But I think for the artists also, it's that autonomy, getting the autonomy back, that actually you can release work, you can deal with it yourself. I mean, on our platform, the artist gets 70% of the sale, and they can decide if they give something to their gallery to support them. If they feel they can give 10, 20%, 30%, split the money. It's really up to them. We give them the 70%. But of course, we need the gallery, we need the outlet, we need the collectors. Collectors sometimes are a bit hesitant to buy directly from an artist. And of course, galleries don't want collectors to go to an artist's studio particularly. Because one, they probably think it's going to be a bit cheaper. They also want to protect the artist, you know, behind the scenes, keep some mystery. So of course, it's the way the business runs. And I think for a lot of galleries, the worst thing is that when the artists hang around art fairs, you know, it's kind of like, you know, they just want to keep the artists away because they think they can do the business. And for an artist to do business, sometimes they can lose the business as soon as the artist opens their mouth, you know. So, but of course, yeah, audience artists, it's that old love-hate relationship that the artist gallery art world have, you know. We know all this.
Yes.
So of course, when artists start dealing their own, and a lot of artists don't want to sell their own work, it's quite tricky to do, actually, to convince someone to buy and or to put work out there. So but yeah, I personally, I need the gallery in a way, and the gallery needs me, and we want to kind of support each other, and we need the audience, we need the people who have the money and support culture. I mean, you know what Switzerland is like. It's quite unique compared to the big cities, Paris, London, Berlin. You know, we have a good cultural department. We have the Arts Council here. There are funds. Even now you can apply for projects under this COVID-19 situation, really special projects which will be looked at and supported. You know, it is very, very, we are very privileged as artists to function in Switzerland. So, I mean, I can only say, yeah, being here, and I've been here for 20 years, and always felt very supported. And I've seen that kind of wave of the good times, the recession that happened, 2007, then the peak again. And now we're looking at another recession. There's less galleries, there's less outlet for the artists. There's not as many artists that you have in Berlin, but there's enough here surviving. Part-time jobs, where are those jobs at the moment? But of course they're getting support. Things will start opening up next week. People have been very well behaved and disciplined, and that's why things can start opening up. So of course, if people don't, then it's back to the isolation again. Yeah.
Okay.
Waffle.
Thank you.
Did it cover everything?
Don't know, have we? Or is there something else? I mean, so to combine everything, you say it's for you, things will change, but you don't want that there's like a complete change of things, that what is the future saying, that everything will be digital? I don't see this myself. It's still like people go, no. Is it like that AI, that deep learning will produce artworks and artists are no longer necessary because AI is doing art? I also don't see this in the next 10 years happening. And
AI doing the artworks,
yeah.
What do you mean?
Artificial intelligence.
Oh, no, God forbid, no. Yes. No, I think, yeah, Studio K3 is just trying to make the best out of quite a bad situation and support artists, give them some visibility. And if a sale can happen, it's just an absolute bonus both ways, for Studio K3 and for the artist. And for if they have a gallery that represents them, that artist is getting some visibility, it's getting somebody who's investing in a work from them. What if it's a work on paper, a canvas work, a concept, a performance? They're investing in that artist. They can say they collect it, and maybe when things start opening up, that artist will invite that new collector, and that's the relationship. And K3 has always been interested in the networks that grow, these little conversations, these meetings. and what can spring out of this encounter. And that's what we can offer at the moment online. And we still want to be online after, but we want to bring people offline. And of course, as an artist, the collector, just the art tart, loves to go to a private view. They love to be seen. It's networking, it's socializing, it's a night out, it's a free glass of whatever, and it's an exchange, and you're seen. And you also know how it is. It's about being somewhere, seen, that randomness of being selected for a show or an encounter. It's about being at the right place. Often it's luck, it's an exchange, it's being introduced to someone. That can't happen online. That has to happen in the real context.
In the real context, yeah.
Yes, of an opening or an art fair or a dinner or a special VIP moment. You know, we all love it, and that's what the art world rests on. It really needs that. That's what people want. They want the public acknowledgement.
They want the social interaction.
Existence.
They want to have this kind of game with exclusivity, being exclusive.
It's
and
human
like
nature,
VIP,
isn't it?
and can we invite you to the dinner, or let's have some champagne, or let's go there, and hi, how do you do? This like very small talk, and it's
flattery, isn't it?
Yes, it's very entertaining, actually.
It's entertaining. Yeah, that idea of being invited to the dinner, what that leads to. Of course, it's all part of the structure and the art market. And that's why, of course, we need to be out there. So I think why we are online, there are many other platforms other than ours doing this. But of course, there has to be an offline.
Yeah.
Somehow, we hope.
And so also in the near future, in 5 or 10 years, it should be that it's still like, it's a combination of both.
Yeah, I think things will return to some normal. I think it really depends. And of course, it depends on a vaccination. I mean, that's what everyone's resting on. I think while things are kind of hovering in this uncertainty, everyone is just too nervous, I believe, to start traveling again. And travel keeps the art market, the global market going, you know, for Art Basel, and Venice, and any big events for the arts. But the vaccination will just allow people to feel more safe to start traveling again. But why we can't travel, then it's online. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have to make the most of this platform, and we were so lucky to have it. We really are, that we can reach out on a global scale. And I think it's a question of how you do it and what you offer. And we hope that Studio K3 offers something a little bit special, because it's from the artist studio and it's artist led. And
I like it. I think it's also interesting to see that we know each other, and I know how much you love K3, and you know also to work with other artists, also to create shows from time to time. You like this kind of, you really enjoy this social mingling, the social networking, and also sometimes you like to have a focus on artists who are not like the 10% who are like the big shots. Maybe they are sometimes more in the middle segment. I don't know if this is the right way to say it or not.
It's changing, I think. And also, it's also a question. I mean, we have 17 artists at the moment, and we're just about to launch another 10. So we have 27 artists on our platform as from tomorrow. And you can imagine how many phone calls and emails that is. And
yes, it's a full-time job.
It's quite a job, but we have a passion for it. It's a love. And those 27 artists I've spoken to, and it's been an absolute joy. And there's 12 artists I've spoken to, and they just don't. Some of them, for whatever reason, they won't, because of their galleries. They can't possibly think of ever showing or the gallery said no, or not through the gallery that they are represented to. They have a loyalty to them, rather than actually seeing the other side that is a springboard. People will see their work on our platform and hopefully go to the gallery platform. So that's something I had to really explain. But some people just said, no, I can't do this. Some people just don't answer an email. Maybe maybe I ended up in their spam filter. I don't know. So then you have to follow up with a phone call, of course. But many personal reasons, or people actually, I was quite surprised artists don't have anything lying around their studios. Or what is the artist studio these days? I mean, mine's quite analog, there's piles of stuff that's been shown, never been shown, I've never had the chance to show. But some artists say they never ever do works on paper or prints, or they're framed, or they're at the gallery, or they just don't do that kind of work. And that's fair enough. They have objects and they have stuff that can't possibly go in a post at the moment. So maybe I'll return to some of them and explain again. And it is kind of hard work. It's like convincing someone to buy something, actually, to convince an artist that this is a platform for them. And obviously it's not for everyone, but for 27 people, they absolutely got it. They saw what we were doing and thought, this is where I want to be, because of course they're now on it, because they can be removed. And the beauty is that whatever is released, they can always send us new things. So as the weeks go by and we're still in isolation or lockdown, and they're doing something else, or something's triggering off, and they're also being influenced what else the artists are putting onto our platform, they say, that's actually makes sense what to put out on what price tag. And so people are sending us already new uploads to replace other works from the beginning. So it's growing, really growing within itself, which is a beauty as well, because then I can have another conversation with that artist. Or they're now suggesting, what do you think about my friend here? She's also, or he's doing this. So again, it's a rolling rock. It's growing, which is really nice, because we're actually being introduced to artists that we wouldn't necessarily know. So the network is growing, which is beautiful.
So, but it's also like in some way, then it's also a way of curating for you, isn't it?
It's absolutely curated. And
for Sandy and for you both, it's a way to curate without having the space.
Yes, I've always, as a curator, I curate around my practice, and it's a very important tag I give myself. I'm not a curator, I will not curate necessarily a show about trees or dolphins. It's very much about what I'm interested in.
Why not about dolphins? Dolphins are wonderful.
Well, it could be, they were apparently spotted in Venice, but that apparently was a lie. But no offense to the dolphin, we love dolphins and trees. But I think it's really important as a curator. I curate around my practice, and by doing that, it allows the networking and development of the subjects that I'm interested, or the umbrella subject I'm interested in. And it's always about, what do you walk away from these projects with? Hopefully a new network, new contacts, new ideas, new focus, and it feeds in. It's like I treat curating as a research project for myself and for other artists. If you can work together on that level as artist led. And so curating Studio K3, of course, it's a personal taste, it's a quality taste, it's a network taste, and these are all through curating. And we do select. We don't take proposals at the moment unless it really comes through someone and it's a suggestion, but we're not opening it out to kind of people to send. Then we were completely bombarded with administration. So it's very, it's curated in that sense. We invite the artists. We try and get a group of 9. It's exhibition 0, 1 and 2. And slowly maybe we start curating it into a theme or something, or a performance platform or a medium, whatever leads the curatorial subject. And that's what we're developing now. And also we have to think about being offline and curating, and then maybe selecting. We have 27 artists as from tomorrow. Then we'll invite another 10. So then we can start saying, okay, we take these 10 out because it makes sense to curate them into a little exhibition, whether it's in my studio or someone else's studio or in a caravan, who knows, whatever is available, or the galleries that are closed down, I don't know. But so yeah, that's a sense of curating, which of course, like you said, it's an absolute thrill for Sandy and I to do this and to meet the artists, to discover more about them. And also the idea of going into artist studios. These are great places that you don't get the chance to do. And if we can actually have an exhibition K3 project space was in a studio. It was born out of a studio. It was a studio that was clean and not clean. So it kind of has always had that kind of the place that things are made and you can be exhibited. And I think, that's what we offer, and where sometimes there's a few little problems because we are artists doing it. I think it also gives the pleasure and it gives the beauty, I would say, the charm.
I think this is a wonderful artist charm. This is a wonderful way to end this conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me to your platform, and I wish you all the luck.
Oh, thank you.
Let's see
what happens with this.
Many things. And it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
Thank goodness for Zoom and all these other things that we can just talk to each other.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you, Zoom. Thank you, Claire.
For finally letting me in and not looking green.
All the best. Yes, no, but